Howdy, cross fans. Welcome to Laatste Ronde. I'm Marty Mack. Thanks for joining me. Happy New Year to you. What can we take away from the cursed period of cyclocross apart from wow? I think this season long we have seen some of the closest and best racing I think we've seen for years. Right, we left off in Havre and then pick up in Dendermonde. The Dendermonster, as we've affectionately called it for years, has always been so super muddy that we've seen riders losing their shoes. This year, we had completely the opposite. Bone dry and so quick. In the elite women's race, it was the French riders Célia Jury and Amandine Fouquenet who got the best start. Lucinda Brand got up to them. It left Brandon Fouquenet at the head of the race. Peters had chased hard to get on. As soon as Lucinda Brand saw coming, put the hammer down. Boom, went. Continued her winning streak. In the elite men's race, we had Thibaut Nys, Thibaut Del Grosso, all the young guns up against Wout van Aert. And this is the question that we have been asking ourselves all season was, would this be the year where, when Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert come back into racing, the likes of Thibaut Nys, Thibaut Del Grosso, Emil Verstringer and other riders would be able to challenge them? In Dendermonde, we did get an answer to that with Wout van Aert, because Wout came through to the front, dropped the big power that we've seen him win in so many races over the years, and the group stayed with him. He dropped back down through the group, and it then came down to an almighty battle at the front between Thibaut Nys and Thibaut Del Grosso. Nys leading out. You had to be first out of that final corner, and he knew it, and he took a well-deserved victory. In the elite women's race as well, we saw the return of Zoe Backstead, and it was probably a baptism of fire for Zoe coming back from that broken wrist. And she finished down in the 20s, and her coach, Geert Wellens, gave an interview afterwards saying maybe we're going to have to reevaluate Zoe's cross season. We'll come on to that in a moment, but she kind of said, hold my Red Bull, and followed it up with some great performances. Moving through it, we could be here all day if we go through every single race, but notable performances that we see. Diegem is always one of our favourites. Thibaut Del Grosso and Peters getting victories there. We've had some notable podiums as well from Kristina Zemanova. Great to see Marie Schreiber getting back onto the podium as well. In Leeuwenhout, unfortunately, we saw a season-ending crash for Laurent Sweeck, who went down really heavy and separated his shoulder and had to have surgery. And that's a big disappointment for someone that was leading in the World Cup. So if we go through the races that we had through this period, on to Basel, Mathieu van der Poel winning. Again, great performance. His winning streak this season continues. I mean, we're up to now almost 180 career victories for Mathieu van der Poel, and I've commentated an awful lot of them. And we never tire of the technique, the skill, the absolute brilliance of Mathieu van der Poel. In the elite women's race, another win for Lucinda Brand. Zoe Backstead makes the podium. We are going to have some incredible world championships this season. Other notable performances as well throughout the cursed period. We saw Raphael Carrière of Canada coming through, taking her first ever sort of European, Belgian televised elite podium. Watch out for her in the Worlds. The Canadian really on a charge. We then went to Mole with a win for Ceylin Alvarado, but as that race went on, the snow started to fall. And this gave us a glimpse of the week to come. By the end of the elite women's race, it was really snowing and the snow was getting really heavy. We went on to the elite men's race and we started to have the excitement of that battle, that head-to-head between two of the biggest rivals in the last 10 years, since they were teenagers. Wout van Aert against Mathieu van der Poel, heavyweight champions of the world. That was what we were expecting. And it was just swinging backwards and forwards. And Wout van Aert is always so good in the snow. And then disaster. Wout van Aert going down in a crash. He picked himself up. He hobbled to the pits. And you could see that there was something wrong. And sadly afterwards, we got that news, didn't we, that Wout had fractured his ankle and went for surgery the next day. So that massive disappointment for us as cross fans, because we're now denied Wout van Aert in those other races that he had on his program. But massive love out to him. And hopefully it doesn't scupper his spring plans too much. His coach and his doctor has said that it shouldn't, but not the way that we wanted to see Wout van Aert end his season. So from Mol, we went to Gullegem, and we had again an almighty battle. The elite men's race was one of the most exciting again for many, many years. Niels van der Putte and Michael van Turnhout, and it came down to the final bridge, and it was just swinging backwards and forwards. You could see the way the riders were just timing their dismounts and the way Niels van der Putte had run a particular section of the course throughout the race, and it came down to the bridge, and we just saw Michael van Turnhout get to the top of the bridge, stall slightly. Niels van der Putte went over the top like a rocket and won that. So it's great to see him taking that victory. The cold weather and the snow then continued into Zonhoven. And Zonhoven is one of my favourite races. Into the Coil, the famous sandpit. 20,000 spectators. And you could see the crowd was absolutely huge. And the atmosphere and the roar that you have in there. And I was watching Puck Peters's YouTube video on her course preview the day before, and you could see how challenging it was. And if you don't watch Puck's previews, I highly recommend going and watching them, because she talks you through the course and she talks you round her lines and how she's thinking and how she's approaching the course and how she's approaching the race. And we saw that in her approach and the way that she started. And then, unfortunately, she went down on the second descent into the Coil, only moments later for Lucinda Brand to go down. And then Salen Alvarado had absolutely nowhere to go. And again, came down to an almighty battle. The previous year, it was Salen Alvarado that took the win after Zoe Backstead had led for a majority of the race. And it just swung backwards and forwards. Lucinda Brand trying to keep up that winning streak. And again, it just swung backwards and forwards. And as always in cyclocross, it just comes down to those minutest of details, or who makes the fewest mistakes. And even right into the last lap, we knew it was going to come right down to the wire. Lucinda Brand had the lead, hit a rut, got catapulted off the line. Salen Alvarado goes through that winning streak, comes to an end for Lucinda Brand. But what a season she has been having, and had looked unbeatable up until that point. In the elite men's race, Mathieu van der Poel started around 30 seconds into the race. We knew the plan. We knew the pattern. And I've commentated on so many of these Mathieu van der Poel victories over the years that pretty much a minute into the race, you could say that it's almost over. He went clear, and you could tell, given the snowy, icy conditions and the challenges, he just wanted to pick his own lines, and he did. Behind, and fair play, Turnhout managed to stay with him, the European champ, double previous winner in Zonhoven. He stayed with him for quite a while. Group coming together behind, again, the riders of this season for me: Thibaut Del Grosso, Thibaut Nace, Emil Verstringer, the young guns coming through. Thibaut Nace started to make his move, and then straight line onto the ice, catapulted him straight into the wooden course marker and over the netting. When he picked himself up and lifted his bike over, we could see that his bars had snapped, and it was his back brake side that he had snapped. And I think fair play to Thibaut. He was so far away from the pits. He knew his race was over. He managed to keep riding for a bit. He ran a lot of sections, and those 20,000 spectators just got behind him. And I read an interview on Veloflits with him the day after, and he said, I knew my race was over, but I had to keep going for the fans. And I think hats off to Thibaut for that. That just shows class. It shows maturity as well, that everyone that had come to cheer on the Belgian champion, he wanted to continue for them. And Mathieu van der Poel, just another incredible performance. The technique, and then just, the tiniest of errors. We don't see him make errors very often. And there was punctures galore as well throughout Zonhoven. But the whole curse period, I think, has just been absolutely spectacular to watch. Some of the youngsters coming through as well. We've had victories for Zoe Roach in the Super Prestige, podiums for Peggy Knox, and then for Giorgia Pelazzotti in Zonhoven as well, the young Italian. And her dad, Franco Pelazzotti, was a pro with Liquid Gas and other teams back in the day. And Giorgia Pelazzotti came through and took the World Cup in Zonhoven. So watch out for the Junior World Championships as well in Hulst. That is going to be super tight. I think we're going to see some great racing. This weekend, it's national championships. Everyone goes off to fight out for their various national champs jerseys in Great Britain. I'll be commentating on the British Nationals. You can follow that on the British Cycling YouTube channel. I hope you're enjoying this season's cross as much as I am. I'll see you next week. Have a great week. Bye for now. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. I'll be back next week.